Hello, good evening, or good afternoon, or good morning, wherever you are. So, this is the third of my three videos, I believe. And today, this video, I'm going to be talking about the Champions League final preview. Now, obviously, before I get started, please do like the video, obviously. Subscribe to the channel, by the way, and ring the notification bell so that you don't miss any of my updates. Now, I will be doing a live watch along to the Champions League final on Saturday, just about I'll do it 15 minutes probably before kickoff. I think that's what I usually do for big events like cup finals and all that. I do it not 5 minutes before, I do it 15 minutes before just to get a little bit hyped up and all that. So yeah, please do join me in my live watch along for the Champions League final. It's going to be great, I hope. I hope it's a good Champions League final. I don't want things like boring Champions League final that goes like no extra time and all that. I don't want to be almost dead asleep. I hope I don't oversleep. I'll just say that. I hope. But yes, today I'm going to be talking about my preview for the Champions League final. It's going to be a quick one. But let's get started. So it's Manchester City up against Internazionale. It's Manchester against Milan, or not in a way, but you know what I mean. So we'll first talk about Manchester City. They've won the Premier League, they've won the FA Cup. If they win this Champions League, they go for a treble. The first time an English club has done a treble in 24 years? I think the last one was Manchester United's 99 treble. So that's one thing that Manchester City will hope. That's probably the message that Pep Guardiola wants to give to his players. Look, be the first English club since Manchester United, local rivals, to do it. So I think that will be the message that Pep Guardiola will go for in his team talk for Manchester City. But also looking at recent form, Manchester City have been, apart from the FA Cup final, they've been kind of resting a lot of their players, the big star players, for a Champions League, because obviously Man City played in the Champions League a couple of years ago, but they lost, and that might have hurt Pep Guardiola, overthinking and all that sort of stuff. So I think it will be a little bit more simple in terms of the team lineup. I'll be honest, I think you'll see the big boys, majority of the big boys. Maybe not a player like, let's say, Bernardo Silva. I think he'll be on the bench and be more of an impact player. But for Manchester City, in terms of their recent form, as I said, they haven't really had the best team play in most of the Premier League games, apart from now the FA Cup as well. But you look at the players that came off the bench for Manchester City in that FA Cup final. You had Phil Foden. That's probably the one name I can only remember because he's only impact. There's probably only made one or two subs there Manchester City in that FA Cup final, but it's because of how good this Manchester City team is. And I'll give a little prediction. I think if there's a goal early in the first 10, 15, 20 minutes, let's say 20 minutes, if there's a goal for Manchester City, I think the time might be over. I'm just going to say that. But if Inter Milan, who I'm going to talk about very soon, hold on, then I think Inter has a chance. But Manchester City's recent form been amazing, but because they had an unbeaten one until obviously they lost to Brentford, but they had like the B team practically, and even the B team could have easily have beaten Brentford in the final day of the season. So who's to say? But how about Internazionale? A team that a lot of people won't fancy, but they've been amazing, especially in the late part of the season, April and May. I think they only lost like 2 games in Serie A. I think they lost to Monza, but that was like mid-April, so that's almost like irrelevant now. And the most recent loss was against Napoli in Naples, and obviously Napoli are the champions of Serie A this season. So you can kind of give excuse of that, but for Inter, they finished third in the league. They've won almost every game apart from those 2 that I've mentioned, those 2 losses. And I think at the same time, Inter have also won a cup this season, which was against Fiorentina, where they've won 2-1, I believe. So, Inter Milan could go for a double this season, a Coppa Italia and a Champions League if they win it. Obviously, a couple of seasons back, they won the Champions League. Obviously, that was under Antonio Conte. Now it's under Inzaghi as well. And I just think that Inter will be. I don't know how I will feel about Inter in terms of how they will set up. I think they'll be a little bit more defensively astute. I think it will be a three at the back for Inter. But you do have players such as Lautaro Martinez, Edin Dzeko, Romelu Lukaku, who are very strong physical guys. And if Inter does get chances, they need to take those chances. Otherwise, Man City score early, as I said, first 20 minutes. I think the game's over, if I'm going to be honest, because even if Inter draw, the momentum will still be on Man City's side, if I'm going to be honest. But I think Inter have every chance to win this Champions League final. Who do I want to win? To be honest, I don't really care. But because I actually pre-season, here's a clip. Do I have a clip? Here's a clip of my Champions League final prediction back in September. And I almost got I predicted AC Milan, not Inter Milan, which was so close. I was so close to predicting the actual two finalists for the Champions League. So close. At least I got Inter in terms of the city. I'll say that. I got the city of the team where it's from. I got that one correct. But obviously, I said Manchester City would win the Champions League. So I just think that this Manchester City team, I think with the hurt from a couple years ago, and you've seen teams that have lost Champions League finals in recent times go on to win it. Here's examples I can think of in my head. Chelsea lost the Champions League final in 2008, their first Champions League, and then 4 years later they won the Champions League. In that same Champions League final, Bayern Munich were kind of meant to win that Champions League. They lost to Chelsea. The following year, in 2013, Bayern Munich won the Champions League. Another good example is Liverpool. From 2018, they lost the Champions League final to Real Madrid. A year later, they go on and win the Champions League. So I think that sort of recent experience of losing a Champions League, and if you're that sort of team that are able to win games, if you're not like a Juventus or Atletico Madrid who've lost, consecutive finals in the past few seasons ago, good teams obviously, but they didn't have the killer instinct to end it. And I just think that Manchester City 2 years ago suffered heartache, maybe should have won that Champions League, but Chelsea won it. Now 2 years later, and also they've suffered heartbreak losing to Real Madrid late on, and obviously now they've overcome Real Madrid comfortably 4-0 in the second leg. I just think that, I wouldn't say it's destiny, but it feels like it. It feels like Manchester City have it. Like this is their Champions League season. It's been building up to it, and I just think that Manchester City will win the Champions League. But I think Inter will put up a very good fight, if I'm going to be honest. I don't think it'll be like a cricket score like maybe some people might predict. I don't think that, because I think Inter are probably the most informed Italian side now of all the Serie A teams. I think the most informed, I believe. Yeah, but I just think with the quality Man City have, I predicted this with the FA Cup final. The quality of Manchester City in the end can be decisive. Yeah, Gundogan being the game changer in that FA Cup final. Will it be Gundogan again, or will Haaland step up? Or who will be the one that will be delivering that trophy for Manchester City? Because that's why I feel it's not me underestimating Inter Milan, because as I said, I think Inter are the best Italian club form-wise in the past couple of months now. But I keep on saying Manchester City, the quality, the suffering of the heartache from the past two Champions League seasons, and even a few seasons back, losing to Spurs in the quarterfinal, losing to Lyon in the quarterfinal, losing to who else did they lose to back then? Lost to Liverpool in the quarterfinals and all that. Monaco in the last 16 in Pep's first season. There's been heartache that just seems like it was so underwhelming, those sort of exits, but now they've gone against the bigger sort of size in recent times in the big moments, but they didn't deliver. This is the time. If this is the season that Man City wins the Champions League, I think it is this season. My score prediction for this game, I'm going for a 2-0 win for Manchester City. Do I think there will be a goal in the first 20 minutes? First 20 seconds in the FA Cup final? No, but I think there'll be. I think Man City will score 2 goals, maybe just after halftime. I think that might be the one that kills the game off. But I think Inter Milan will hold on and really, really try to give Man City a game. If Inter score first, I'll say this, then we could be in for a, maybe a comeback from Man City or whatever. But who knows? But my score prediction, I'm going with 2-0 to Manchester City in the Champions League final, the first ever Champions League. Obviously, if Inter win it, it will be the 4th Champions League, first time in 13 years. So yeah, in terms of my player of the match, maybe I'll predict player of the match. I'm going with, why not? Since he did well in the FA Cup final, İlkay Gündoğan to be the man of the match. That's my pick. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Please do like the video, subscribe to the channel by the way, and ring the notification bell so that you don't miss my Champions League live watch along. Hopefully, if I'm not oversleeping. But yeah, until then, I will see you guys in the live watch along tomorrow for the Champions League final.